Are the people at the World Economic Forum insane? Yeah, that was at the World Economic Forum. Are they insane, or do they know exactly what they're doing? You tell me at the end of this video. Now, these guys are digging their own graves. We're watching these moron globalists destroy our way of life right before our eyes. And they're telling us right to our faces what they're planning. And the latest moves over the past 48 hours prove my point. Now, somehow these globalists believe that isolating China and Russia through sanctions is the smartest way to go. They've lost their minds. They believe that making these big moves on sanctions and carbon emissions are going to help the planet, while at the same time hurting Putin, hurting China, when in fact the opposite is true. These people are delusional because in many ways, Putin and China just scored a knockout blow to Europe and the World Economic Forum, both in terms of their own moves and with the West shooting itself in the foot with these sanctions. Because now the only option left is military might, now that the sanctions have failed. So it's like watching two different trains. One is fully fueled and is packed with food for its passengers and is heading in the most direct path to its destination. The other train is nearly out of fuel and didn't prepare anything for its passengers and is traveling around its ass to get to a hole in the ground. Which is not exactly the way my dad used to say it. He's from Baltimore, but you get the point. One is headed for disaster. It will be stranded and without food. And the other one is heading for success and prosperity. Now, I'm going to get into the nitty-gritty details of what's happening because the numbers don't lie, and these globalists are screwing us. I'll get there in a moment. But first, a couple of big moments of news this week that we should cover and that should concern all of us. First, the World Economic Forum in Davos spent much of their time laying out an energy agenda that will enrich the elites but destroy our way of life. Now, if you don't believe me, just look at the past few years when they laid out plans to reduce nitrogen fertilizers. They did that at the World Economic Forum. Farmers destroyed, lose their land. And these globalists come in and buy up the farmland in order to build apartment complexes. Thousands of farms taken away. This was their plan. That's just one past example. There's too many to count, actually. So this week, we have a doubling down on emissions policies and spending of money that the US and the world, and frankly Europe, doesn't have in order to drive a globalist agenda. Here's Joe Biden's climate czar, John Kerry, telling us we have to keep our foot on the gas, no pun intended, and spend as much money as possible so we can make these changes away from fossil fuels. Watch.
So how do we get there? Well, the lesson I've learned in the last years, and I learned it as secretary and I've learned it since, reinforced in spades, is money, 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 money.
Now, the very same moment this was happening in Davos, the United States Treasury Department was literally hitting the debt ceiling. Seriously, almost the exact same hour of Kerry's speech in Davos, Washington admitted it's totally out of money, hitting its debt limit. Here's how the Treasury Department describes it. Quote, "The debt limit is the total amount of money that the United States government is authorized to borrow to meet its existing legal obligations, including Social Security and Medicare benefits, military salaries, interest on the national debt, tax refunds, and other payments." First of all, wouldn't you love to know what the other payments are? But that's from the Treasury Department. So the truth is the U.S. has to borrow money from China in order to pay the salaries of our military. The Treasury just said that. And that's the fact. That's truth. It has to borrow money from China in order to pay Social Security checks. Wrap your head around this for a moment. The United States is totally broke. The U.S. national debt has officially topped $31.4 trillion this week while John Kerry was speaking. And what does John Kerry want?
Money, 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 money.
These globalists are further screwing us over by pushing climate policies and Russian sanction policies that are rooted in sheer insanity. Now, like former Vice President Al Gore, he appeared at the World Economic Forum in Davos this week and claimed greenhouse gases are trapping as much heat as 600,000 Hiroshima-class atomic bombs every single day, end quote. It looks like he said this all with a straight face. Watch.
Is now trapping as much extra heat as would be released by 600,000 Hiroshima-class atomic bombs exploding every single day on the Earth. That's what's boiling the oceans, creating these atmospheric rivers and the rain bombs and sucking the moisture out of the land and creating the droughts and melting the ice.
So did you catch the message there? We're all dying right now because of nuclear weapons or atomic bombs. We need more money and we need to eliminate fossil fuels. That's the message. In 2006, Al Gore released a movie called An Inconvenient Truth. In that movie, he said that in 10 years, humanity, which was sitting on a clock bomb at the time, would be gone. In 10 years, the Earth will witness the largest destruction process ever, and the storms, droughts, and epidemics will lead to extinction of life on Earth, he said. And he spread this message while flying on his private jet and living in his fossil fuel-powered multi-thousand-dollar square foot home in Tennessee. Of course, storm severity is the lowest it's been in nearly 100 years. Droughts reached their worst levels in the 1930s during the Dust Bowl. And don't even get me started on epidemics. You need to go back thousands of years for that. That is an inconvenient truth. While this insanity has been unfolding in the West, Vladimir Putin has been building out one of the most sophisticated energy systems in the world, both from an exploration process to a refining process, ultimately creating a self-sustaining infrastructure. Russia has the ultimate arrow in its energy quiver, and the West should be shaking in its boots. So get this, the West has put sanctions on just about every energy sector in Russia. That's right, oil, gas, coal. It's been devastating, but not for Putin, but for the West. Prices have skyrocketed for gas, oil, and coal in Europe and the United States. Businesses have gone under because they can't afford heating oil for their companies or natural gas for their business. And businesses have closed as a result in the West, but not in Russia. Of course, the World Economic Forum globalists want it this way. As they say, it'll speed the transition to solar and wind.
This is also a tremendous opportunity. It's a tremendous opportunity to, once and for all, remove the dependence on Russian energy.
It's good for the long run because people won't want to be dependent on Russian natural gas.
So they love the idea of businesses closing, consolidating power, people staying home. They control all of it. So of course, this was the plan when the U.S. blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. But did you know that all of the sanctions they placed on Russia, they left one very important sanction off the list? I bet you didn't know that. That's right, uranium. Why is that? Why is nuclear left off of the sanction list for Russia? Pretty curious. Because without Russia's uranium refinement, it's lights out. Game over for the West. And Putin knows this. You see how the West has boxed themselves into a dangerous and disastrous corner. As Christiana Fatanova reports, Putin controls all of the West because of uranium. Russia is the largest player of uranium, with almost 40% of the total uranium conversion infrastructure in the world, and therefore produce the largest share of uranium in gaseous form, she writes, called uranium hexafluoride. The same goes for uranium enrichment, the next step in the nuclear cycle, she writes. According to 2018 data, the latest available, the capacity was spread among a handful of key players, with Russia once again responsible for the largest share, 46%. So in recent years, Putin and China signed the largest uranium and nuclear trade deal in history. And in recent weeks, they solidified trade deals around uranium as China is pushing massively into nuclear power as it starts to convert its coal power into nuclear. It's becoming increasingly likely that if NATO keeps shipping billions of dollars in weapons to Ukraine, Russia will flip that uranium switch and give the biggest middle finger imaginable to the West. If this is looking more and more likely, by the way, as former Russian President Medvedev just said on Friday, nuclear war is likely when the territorial integrity of Russia is at risk. He's a Putin ally who's saying this. And then you have this week the New York Times publishing a report saying that the West is warming to the idea of attacking Crimea, which of course is Russian territory. Despite what Washington says about it, Russia believes that Crimea belongs to Russia. So General Mark Milley yesterday said he expects this war to continue for years. So that means all of these energy policies and sanctions will continue for years to come. The West will keep these policies in place because who's going to be the brave leader in the West that's going to actually say enough is enough? They're all in cahoots. This will further drive Western countries into the ground, forcing a move to solar and wind unless the United States and the West start to ramp up uranium production and refinement on our land, whether it's in Canada, Mexico, or the United States. So that's the macroeconomic news update part of this video from this week as these globalists continue their onslaught. Now I want to tell you about the sponsor for today's video. It's an energy company that could see massive growth after their drilling results are announced, which are coming very, very soon. Now, you know these companies see their stock prices explode after posting positive drilling results. That's why I invest in these companies, by the way, at this level, because I know what's coming. We need these minerals producers to be very successful if we want to take a stand against Russia and China and their dominance right now. And these Western leaders keep screwing us. So we need these companies to be successful. So this company that I'm going to tell you about is a junior uranium production company out of Canada called Traction Uranium. Here's their stock ticker. It's on your screen. It's TRCTF. Now, I'm going to go through why this stock could explode in the coming weeks. So Traction Uranium has a lot going for it, and there are 5 big reasons why that I've identified. Number 1, this company hasn't started drilling yet. Yes, they have not started drilling yet, and drilling is imminent. So timing is crucial on this one. That means that once they announce drilling results with positive uranium results, everything changes. The stock surges, then of course the market cap explodes, investors pour into it. So that's when you see that stock price surging. So you should know that. Number 2 is that they are drilling in the best uranium jurisdiction in the world right now. This is the Athabasca Basin in Canada. You've heard me talk about this area. If you've watched my show for the past 2 years, you know how awesome this area is. That's why I'm a big investor in companies that are drilling in this area. The Athabasca Basin keeps producing the highest grade uranium in the world, hands down. Better than Russia, better than Kazakhstan. Number 3 on my list, and why you should pay attention to this, they have world-class technical advisors on their team. That's right. One of them specifically has made a world-class discovery just a few kilometers away in the Athabasca Basin. So he's kind of a legend for finding this massive deposit. So he knows this area very well, and he has identified these new spots where they're about to drill. And the way that they identify them is they go up in a helicopter, and they use special scanning technology to actually find hotspots in the ground. These hotspots then show anomalous activity, which usually means uranium, pay dirt. And then they have another geologist on their team that has actually pioneered a new technique for exploring. No other company has access to this technique right now because they're on this team. And this is a huge competitive advantage for identifying these hotspots where they're about to drill. So they went up in the helicopter, they've identified these hotspots. Now they're about to start drilling in these hotspots. So number 4 on my list, and this is a big one for me. Again, if you've been watching me for the past few years, you know that I only invest in companies where the owners own a lot of the stock. That means that they have a lot of skin in the game. So Traction Uranium, the company I'm telling you about, the owners own 55% of the stock. Normal is anything over 10% is a big deal. They own 10%? That's pretty good. No, they own 55% of the stock. So the founders and the strategic partners, they have a lot riding on this. The other 30% of the stock is owned by Sprott Capital. Yes, Eric Sprott's company. We've talked about Eric on this show many, many times. He's a legend in the mining world. So they own a huge chunk of it. So does Canaccord and Research Capital. So 85% of the stock is owned by people that want to 10x their money after these drilling results. So the remaining stock, like the 15%, is out there available to trade right now and for you and I to buy it. The 5th and the final reason why this company could explode in short order is what happens after they make this mining discovery. They have access to all of the production and refinement facilities right there in the Athabasca Basin in Canada. So this isn't a mine somewhere out in the jungle. All of the facilities are right there, right next to the mining operation. So it's huge to be able to bring this out of the ground, get it right into refinement containers, and start to work on that process to give it and deliver it to nuclear power plants, which the United States and Canada desperately need. So again, they are about to start drilling. Drilling is imminent. If they hit it and they make an announcement, it could be a massive explosion in the stock value. Now, I'm giving you something equivalent to buying Bitcoin at $1 because this company has 2 exploration stage projects right now. And the early geophysics tests are now completed. They've already done their helicopter scanning. They've already identified these areas, and they are ready to start the drilling process. Now, there is a chance, now there's always, chances with investing up or down, but there is a chance that this could do 400 to 600% returns in a month after the drilling results, getting in before they announce these drilling results. So I wanted to find one for you that happens before it explodes 600% in value. Now, many of you have emailed me recently and said you've made a lot of money investing in the companies that we feature on the show. That's great. That's awesome. But you don't have to thank me. I'm just bringing you these companies that I'm investing in after I do the research that I'm comfortable in, because I know how valuable these minerals producers are and how vital they are to our economy. You're the ones that are going out and doing the research. Like, you're doing your own due diligence. I can think of John wrote me the other day and said, thank you for this. He's made a lot of money on one of a recent video we featured, a different company. That's great. But you're doing the research. You've taken the initiative and you've gone out there and like what you see, and then you're buying a few shares. So again, check out this company called Traction Uranium. Their stock price currently, as of this video, is just 33 cents a share. So even if you just bought a few shares, 33 cents a share, it's not a big deal, right? That's about 50% off their high for the year. They're down 50% because the whole stock market has been down, right? So everything is trading at a discount right now. So I'm going to be watching this stock very closely in the next few weeks after they announce drilling results, after their successful drilling. We'll see if it's successful. I'd love to see it. I'd conservatively love to see this stock hit 60 cents or even 70 cents a share, or maybe even much higher than that. That's my goal. That's what I'm wishing for. So again, do your own due diligence on this company. Look at the projects they're currently working on for drilling for uranium. Here is the ticker again on the screen. It's TRCTF. I'll have a link to their latest uranium report on their website and all of their current drilling projects, so you can dive into it. You can look at their team. You can do your own research and see if it's a fit for you, if you want to add some of this to your portfolio. All of that will be in the description below. And we'll see you next time, everyone.